What's up, everybody? I'm Jonathan the Baptist, and let's talk about this Bart Barber thread on Twitter. Uh, so, I've known a lot of people, and let's just say everybody. Everybody uses straw man arguments every now and then. It's just something everybody does. But I've never seen anything as blatant as this, and as glorious as this thread is from our SBC president, Bart Barber. It is bad. It's really bad. So we're going to talk about it. It's just goes on this long rampage against an argument that was never made, and totally destroys it. So, let's talk about that. Oh man, I didn't set this up, did I? Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay. Okay. So, perfect. Okay, cool. So here's Bart Barber. This is not the whole tweet. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now we're ready. Now we're cooking with oil. All right. So, here we have Bart Barber. Quoting some dude, Dusty Devers, never heard of the guy. But he says, this tweet represents the lowest point of dishonesty to which we can descend when we sell out to the crass tone of secular politics instead of following the way of Christ. Okay. So, let's hop over to Mr. Dusty. This is the tweet. Alright, he quotes the ERLC, that's the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, which is a part of the SBC. And they unanimously voted, this guy, Leatherwood, Tennessee, that's his Twitter handle, I guess, unanimously voted to appoint him as the next president of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. So Dusty says, our friend, our pal Dusty, again, I don't know the dude. He says, in Louisiana this spring at the SBC annual meeting this summer, Brent Leatherwood sided against the innocent preborn. Now he leads the ethics and policy arm of the SBC. Didn't it? He says in Louisiana this spring. Oh, and okay. It's helpful to read everything. And at the SBC, I was like, that was in California, wasn't it? All right, anyway, so he sided against the innocent preborn, and now he leads the ethics and policy arm of the SBC. So maybe you're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. He leaves this link. Let's watch the video. This is what Dusty is talking about. Mr. Devers. Devers, yeah. This is the video in question. Let me get it on here. This was live during the SBC conference. In case you missed it, this is what was said. I don't know why it's way over there. There we go. Stop it. Okay.
The reality. You're not going to get me to say that I want to throw mothers behind bars. That's not the view of this entity. That is not the view of this convention. It is not the view of the pro-life movement.
All right, so that's the statement right there. I mean, he goes on for another little while, but so in this tweet, that is what he's referring to. All right. Now let's go back to Bart. So he's like, this tweet represents the lowest point of dishonesty. All right, but he goes on like for a long time. This isn't a short little thing. This is a long discussion. So here we go. Devers is attacking the consistent pro-life position of the Southern Baptist Convention, as represented by more than 20 resolutions adopted over the span of 40 years. To give some specific details. Okay, and then he just goes on. Since the 1980s, we have consistently said that abortion should be illegal, unless the life of the mother would be in peril if the pregnancy were to continue, such as in the case of ectopic pregnancy. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that ever. Okay? So then he... okay, here we go. That means, don't miss this, the Southern Baptists have not supported exceptions permitting abortion in cases of rape or incest. Okay? That's a pretty conservative idea right there. Yeah, abortion is always wrong. There's never a reason to abort. So he's like, ours is not a moderate position. It certainly is not the position that is against the innocent preborn. Okay, so already we see he's missed the whole point. The whole point of what Dusty is saying. Come on, Bart. Yeah, he's already missed it. He didn't say that you had a moderate position. He's specifically referring to the fact that this guy that the ERLC has appointed as the president has publicly stated that he will never say that we should prosecute murderers. Now, he uses the word mothers, but of course we're not going to prosecute mothers just because they're mothers. We're going to prosecute murderers. That's the only people that conservatives want to prosecute. Only murderers. But we'll keep going. And so he goes on this list. It kind of reminds me of what's his name from the convention, who was Rick Warren, who was like talking about how great he was. So that's kind of what this kind of reminds me of. Bart Barber talking about how great the SBC is. We funded crisis pregnancy centers. We've invested in providing advanced imaging technologies. Well, of course, these are great things. We have not been silent on the legal front. We have supported legislators and legislation from state to state. Through success and failure. You can go through and read all this. I don't have time to really read this whole thing. I've already read it a few times. But now he's just listing all the things that I guess the SBC has done. I know that people in the SBC have done this. I wasn't actually aware that the SBC as a whole committed to financially supporting these things, but I could be wrong. You know, I try to stay out of the SBC politics as much as I can, even though I am a SBC guy. That's the Baptist in the Jonathan the Baptist there, Southern Baptist. So here we go. Through success and failure, I'm not even gonna try to. With courage, indefatigable. What kind of word is courage? With courage over the course of decades, calling upon the brightest minds and the strongest of wills, pro-life legislative and judicial strategists successfully implemented an incrementalist strategy that has finally toppled Roe. First of all, none of this has anything to do with the original tweet that he's railing against. None of it. None of this was talked about. This is not what the tweet was over. The tweet was over him saying that he would not prosecute guilty people who've murdered their children. That's what the tweet's about. Nothing to do with the SBC doing good things. I think the SBC does a lot of great things. They just also do a lot of bad things. Also, it's... The reason Roe has been toppled is because of Donald Trump, the guy that people like Bart Barber. I don't know what Bart Barber is politically, but people like Bart Barber in the SBC opposed over and over and over and over and over again. They've slandered the guy. They've talked about how terrible he is. They've tried to convince as many people possible not to vote for the man. And I'm not saying that there's not good reasons not to vote for him, but these guys have actively sought to prevent people in the Southern Baptist Convention from voting for Donald Trump. But he's the reason that Roe was toppled, because he put conservative judges on the court. I mean, some of them are a little squish, like Kavanaugh. But he put the judges on the board that they finally overturned Roe. It wasn't a bunch of legislative judicial strategists. Now, some of them, I mean, there were people who got the case to the Supreme Court, and I'm excited that they did that. But the reason Roe is no longer in the country is because Donald Trump put the right people in the right place at the right time. Now, ultimately, I think that God used Donald Trump in that way. So all glory be to God. It's not that Donald Trump is the greatest president ever. I mean, he's got his problems, but the SBC, the leaders in the SBC, a lot of them were fighting against the very people who were trying to overturn Roe. That's my point. So, but also, what does this have to do with the original tweet? This has nothing to do with why we don't like the guy who's now on the ERL or ECR. I don't know, the ERLC, whatever it's called. This is the only pro-life approach that has actually saved any babies at all. I don't know, all the pro-lifers who voted for Donald Trump. That was pretty sweet. So now he goes on this. He shifts from all the great things that the pro-life movement and the SBC have done, and he goes on to attack the abolitionist movement, which, again, not what was talked about. I actually agree with Bart Barber to an extent about these arguments, because there are people that, God bless them, over at like Apologia Studios who have said, I don't know if they still do, but they've said, like, we shouldn't vote for these people or vote for these laws because they don't go far enough. What I think it's okay to debate like incrementalism versus like full swing. I'll take any win I can get. Any win that moves the line to saving more and more babies, I'll take it when we can get it. Roe v. Wade didn't abolish abortion, but it's a good step toward abolishing abortion. So I agree with his discussion here. I don't know what this has to do with Mr. Dusty. Again, I don't know the man, so maybe he's part of this group. I don't know. But I don't know what this has to do with the discussion that was had about the guy not wanting to prosecute murderers, people who are implicit. Bart does kind of argue for that eventually. We'll get to it. I'm just kind of flying through. This is like a sky view of this whole thing. All right. But Devers has chosen this line of messaging, namely that we shouldn't vote for policies or measures that aren't completely, fully 100% bans of abortion, which, again, I agree with Bart Barber in the fact that I don't like the argument that we shouldn't celebrate incrementalism. Now, I do think that there are some people in government who seem to only care about incrementalism. They'll only give you a couple nuggets, and I'm like, no, I want the whole thing. Like, I'm not here for the nuggets. I want that whole chicken. Give me the whole thing, so I can kind of understand like being put up with people who only want to like give you just enough to get you to vote for them again. That I can understand, but I think that incrementalism is a fine approach and might be the only successful one. But I applaud the people who are going for the whole thing. I'm like, I don't think it'll happen, but let's do it. Anywho, so he says, according to him, if you supported the actual legislative and judicial work that produced the Dobbs decision to overturn Roe, again, that's wrong. You might still be against the innocent preborn. if you fund prenatal clinics that help women meet their babies and choose life, you still might be among the innocent, against the innocent preborn. They can oppose the value them both amendment in Kansas and claim the high road in doing so. But anyone who opposes their poorly written legislative efforts, poorly written, I have no idea what they are. But I guess he's read them and knows how poorly written they are. They will be accused of being against the innocent preborn. Okay, here we go. Finally, some meat and potatoes here. Well, how? Why? Because unless you 100% agree with every jot and tittle of Deaver's obsession with sending 16-year-old girls to prison for succumbing to the coercion of their parents to have an abortion, he will label you against the innocent preborn. Where was that said? I need a quote, please. You need to have a reference to your thing here, Mr. Barber. No, in this specific situation, I can almost guarantee that the abolitionists would blame who? The parents. Why? Because a 16-year-old girl does not have a choice, according to our law. In other words, the parents or the boyfriend who is coercing somebody into having an abortion, they are the real guilty party, because you don't when you're being coerced into doing something, you do not have legal liability for that action. So if a guy comes, like, there's a scenario, if a guy comes to you, kidnaps your family, and then says, I will kill your family if you don't go rob a bank, and you go rob a bank. Well, the person who is liable for or guilty for robbing the bank is the man who kidnapped your family and forced you to do it. Not the person who actually does it. You just become a tool in their arsenal. Now, there might be some legal things. I guess it depends on the state, but if the parents force their daughter that's 17 or under to have an abortion, if they force it, the parents are the ones who are guilty. They're the murderers. If it's the boyfriend and he forces his girlfriend to have an abortion, the boyfriend is the murderer. He may not have actually done that, but he's the one who is the guilty party. So, no, you're wrong. Mr. President, you're wrong. Well, if you want an exception in the law for ectopic pregnancies, where mother and the baby would be in grave danger of death if the pregnancy was not ended, he will label you as against the innocent preborn. First of all, again, nobody mentioned ectopic pregnancies. But here's something for you. Here's something. Remember that interesting guy who ran for president in 2016? What was his name? Ben Carson? Who said, because this guy operated on children in the womb. This guy, Mr. Carson, or I guess you could say Dr. Carson, knows extremely well the medical issues with pregnancy. What did he say? He said there is no medical reason for an abortion. No medical reason for an abortion. What does that mean? Ectopic pregnancies don't exist. I mean, there might be an ectopic pregnancy, but there's no situation in which to save the life of the mother, you have to kill the baby. Okay? That's it. You don't have to kill the baby. But also, like, let's assume that there was a situation where you have to choose between the mother and the baby. I don't think it's morally wrong to choose the life of the mother. But there's a fundamental difference between purposely ending the life of a baby and choosing to save one of the two. So yes, maybe you didn't choose to save the baby, but you didn't murder the baby. Murder implies intention. Your actions led to the death of the baby, but that's a far cry from, like, crushing its skull and sucking out its juice, its bodily juices, or ripping apart limb from limb like they do in abortion. That's a far cry from saving the mother, and even if that means the baby dies. Those are different. And I don't know a pro-lifer who would disagree with that. There's a fundamental difference between choosing to save one and actually murdering one of them. That's different. So no, that's not part of it. All right? So he says, even he knows it isn't true. Even Mr. Dusty knows that Leatherwood isn't against the innocent preborn. He's just hoping that you won't know that. It's ironic because Bart Barber, I don't know if he actually knows what we believe and why we're actually arguing against Mr. Leatherwood. Like, does he really not listen to all that we're saying? Surely, like, people know why we don't like this guy, and it's because he literally said that he's okay with. He is leading the SBC in a direction where we do not support the prosecution of murderers. That's what we're against. Justice must be done. The innocent preborns who were murdered cry out to God for justice. And so the SBC has a choice. Are we going to use the justice system, the sword of the government that God has given us, to bring about justice to those innocent preborns who were murdered, or are we not? And so this guy, Mr. Leatherwood, has cast his lot against the innocent preborn, namely the ones that have been murdered. So Bart Barber goes on this long rant that really just misses the whole point. He's made this straw man of what we actually believe, what abolitionists are really fighting for, and he easily destroys it, just like every other straw man argument. It's easy to destroy. That's not what we're arguing against. We're calling for justice, biblical justice. And the SBC leadership seems to not care about justice. They like to say that they care about justice, and they go on and on and on and on about justice this, justice that. But when it comes down to brass tacks, it's like, oh well, of course you would never get me to say that we should prosecute mothers. Look, some mothers kill their children, and they deserve justice. I'm not saying every mother should be locked up. Nobody's saying that. We're saying that mothers who kill their children should be locked up, and that's it. That's all I got to say about that. Just come on, you're the president of the SBC. If you're gonna go on a tirade, at least listen to the arguments that you're arguing against. You're not helping anybody, Mr. Barber. Those are my thoughts. Just a glorious day to be in the SBC. Yippee. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you on Barber's side? If so, let me know why. I know people who are. So people I love would agree with this tirade. But this is my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.